Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about evaluating sources for your research. We'll cover the good, the bad, and the ugly. The first consideration you should make when evaluating a source is taking a look at the author. We want to take a look at what their credentials are, what their motivations are, their affiliations, as well as their biases. We'll take a look at a few examples here, but first I want to draw your attention to the circle on the right. If you were writing an article where you needed to do some research about a medical topic, you would want your source author to be a doctor or a nurse or someone with credentials or a license and definitely a medical education. You wouldn't turn to a mom blogger writing about home remedies or vaccines. If you were writing about a sports-related topic, you might turn to a team coach, professional players, perhaps a team doctor, or even an owner. Definitely not a sports fan. If you were writing about a legal or law-related topic, a judge or a lawyer would be a good source. Not a politician, because it's likely that they have biases. Let's go ahead and take a look at a few examples. On the screen now, I have an article pulled up by PETA, and it's called 12 Reasons to Stop Drinking Cow's Milk. We can see up in the address bar that this is from PETA.org. And if we scroll down a little bit to look for the author, we find that we're out of luck. An author's name is typically right underneath the title of the article. Occasionally, we'll find the author's name following the article. But in this case, we have to accept that the organization itself is the author. That is not always a bad thing, but when we consider the topic of drinking cow's milk and the author as PETA, the organization, we can infer that they are writing from a biased perspective. Since we know that PETA does not condone the use of animals or animal products, we wouldn't want to necessarily take everything that they're saying as being fact. Now let's take a look at this article. The title is Health Benefits and Risks of Consuming Milk. The title in and of itself shows less bias than the PETA article because it's saying that there could be benefits and risks. If we look for the author's name, it's right where we expect to find it. Even better, we can click on the author's name to learn a little bit more about her. Her bio tells us that she's a registered dietitian nutritionist and that she also owns a private practice called Nutrition Awareness in Florida. This in and of itself is enough for us to decide that Megan Ware is a credible author. We could go ahead and use this source in our research. I want to draw your attention to one other aspect of why this article could be deemed credible. It's been reviewed by another licensed professional. The peer review process is very important when it comes to deciding if a source is credible or not. Peer review means that someone else who's in the same field has read the article, done some fact checking, and is putting their stamp of approval on it, essentially saying, I'll put my name on this too. So anytime we see that an article has gone through a review process and that person who is the reviewer is also well credentialed, we can definitely put some faith in that particular article. Let's move on to number 2. Currency. When I say currency, I'm not talking about cost or money. I'm talking about the date. How current is the article that you're looking at? When was it published? And most importantly, is the information within it still relevant and correct? This is especially important when you are researching anything in the sciences. Medical data changes really from week to week and month to month. So pulling up statistics from an article published in 2005 or even 2015 might not be giving you relevant and correct information. It's really important to always search for the most recent source on the topic that you're looking for. Number 3 is medium. I've got 3 links here, and I'm going to show you the examples. The topic that I selected to discuss the medium is legalizing marijuana, because I think that this is a topic that lends itself to a lot of discussion. There's certainly a lot of writing about it on the web, and it can sometimes be hard to decide if a source is credible or not. So let's take a look. The first source that I'm showing you is called hightimes.com. This is a pretty well-known entertainment type of publication for marijuana users. Traditionally recreational marijuana users, but now also legal and medicinal marijuana users. We can tell just by looking at the title of this article, How to Pass a Drug Test, Drug Testing 101, and the image right here, that this is definitely not the kind of source that we would want to pull in as research. Anything published by hightimes.com is kind of discredited simply by looking at this article. If this medium, if this site would post something like this, then how reliable could the rest of their information be? So that's something that we want to look at as well. Not just the author, not just how current it is, but the reputation of the website or the publication in and of itself. The next site we'll look at is mintpressnews.com, and we can see just by the URL that this is in fact a news site. And if we're looking at the title, Is Congress Ready to End the War on Drugs? We definitely are taking a more serious approach. This does not look as though it would be an entertainment type of publication. If we scroll down a little bit, we can see that even looking at the content, we're getting some serious facts here about voting in Congress. There's some quotes from representatives in Congress. So we know that the tone is different and more serious. So we might start to consider this as a credible source. But we're going to want to go back and take a look at the author, of course. She's listed right at the top, and we can click her name and find out a little bit more about her. Katie Ruck is a writer and investigative reporter, and she specializes in the war on drugs, criminal justice, marijuana legislation, and so forth and so on. We can learn a little bit more about her background, that she has written about a number of highly publicized events like the 2010 Toyota recall scandal. She's done some coverage of different trials, and she's also won an award, we can see here, as a trusted journalist, and she has written pieces for some other publications as well. I would consider this about medium level reliability, whereas High Times would be low level, don't use it. This would be mid level. You could consider using it. If you wanted to use a source that you feel is just a so-so source in terms of credibility, what you need to do in your writing is make sure that you're being very clear to your readers what the source is. So you don't want to present a source like this as though it's highly academic or that it's coming out of Harvard or something like that. You would want to say, according to a staff writer of Mint Press News, and then go on with it. So that, in a way, is letting your reader know, okay, this is just, an investigative journalist or just someone who's writing for this particular website. These are her ideas and her opinions. So as long as you're framing it correctly, then you won't run into any trouble citing a source like this within your paper. The third item that I want to show you is the most credible of all. The URL is lawprofessors.typepad.com, and we can see that the title is Advocacy Groups Urge House Leaders Not to Move Forward, ... so forth and so on. So definitely a serious tone. This looks like it's got some more statistics in it, as well as quotes from senators and congresspeople. And best of all, if we take a look at the author's background, we'll find out that he is in fact a professor at Ohio State University within their College of Law. His credentials are pretty outstanding. He attended Princeton University and Harvard Law School. We can pretty much stop there and say that this is a solid source that we can go ahead and use. I want to take a moment to call your attention to the different types of sites that we looked at. If you'll notice, the site that is earning the most credibility here is in fact a .com site. 10-15 years ago, we used to be able to evaluate sites pretty much with how they ended. So .com, .edu, .gov, and .org. People used to say that .coms and .nets, those are no good. Can't use those. Only orgs, govs, and edus. That is not the case anymore. There are plenty of .com websites out there that have got really solid, credible information. You just have to make sure that you're looking into who the author is and, of course, the date of publication and the publishing medium. When we first started looking at examples, we looked at PETA.org, and we decided that that particular source wouldn't be credible. So again, don't let yourself decide on the credibility of a source just because of the URL. Let's move on to number 4. Consider your topic. We talked about this when we were looking at number 1, and I've listed some, just questions to kind of illustrate the point further. So, should pitchers have to wear helmets? Smartphones versus iPhones, genetically engineered food. Each one of these topics is going to have wildly different types of credible sources. If we want to find a credible source that talks about smartphones versus iPhones, think about that. There's probably not a whole lot of academic journals or .edus or .govs that are writing about that particular topic. We want to look at people who work for Samsung, people who work for iPhone, people who have degrees in computer technology and possibly even engineering. So again, really consider your topic and think about who are the experts in this particular field. Who are the people that are the most reliable when it comes to talking about my topic? That should guide you really, really well in determining what a good source is. And last but not least, if you're not sure about the quality of a source in this class or any other class that you take, you should ask. You can ask your teacher, and if you're not comfortable doing that, you can most certainly ask at the library or at the Writing Center. It's always best to err on the side of caution, so if you feel that you found this source, that it's really great, you really want to use it, but something's kind of holding you back from thinking that it's appropriate, go ahead and send me an email. I'm happy to take a look at the source itself. I'll look into the author, and I'll give you my opinion on whether or not you should use the source within your research. That's all I've got for today. Thank you guys for watching.